Now, you have a device with 128 meg of onboard RAM and 8 gig of swap space. Hey everyone, how are you going today? We are looking at another awesome Luckfox product that, again, they've changed what they're doing, but in a good way. They haven't changed what they're doing. They're still making awesome SBCs, but they've done something very, very different this time. This is the Luckfox Lume, and this is quite different from their other ones, if the camera wants to focus, because it has an Allwinner T153. It's not a Rockchip board. So they've really stepped out and focused on the industrial use case here, which I really like. Why industrial? Well, this is an eSBC, obviously. If you don't know what that means, check out the links below to the board taxonomies that I have. But essentially, it's an embedded system board. It's, an embedded SBC. It's an SBC, it can run a full Linux, but it's designed for embedded applications. And that's because it's quite industrial. It's quite, I guess, it's not going to run a desktop computer. Let me stop you there. Before anyone complains and bitches in the comments about that, this isn't a Raspberry Pi. This isn't to plug a display into and use your GUI on. This is a headless system that's designed to run embedded applications. And what sort of applications? Well, robotics is a really good one. Industrial monitoring, control systems, all sorts of things like that. And we're going to have a look at exactly how it applies. We're going to demonstrate a few little features of it, including flashing, and we're going to plug in a screen so that you can see what the MIPI DSI interface is like. And we're going to give one of these away because, actually I'll say that slower for those that don't understand the Aussie accent, we're going to give one of these away. That's a PoE kit as well, because Luckfox sent us an extra one. So keep watching this video to see what the specs of this are, how to flash it, what it's like to use, and how to win one of these, because I'll tell you about that a little bit later on in the video. For now, we're going to get into the specs and see what this thing's built out of. Now, over here on the product page, it looks very similar to what we were just looking at, but it's a web page and it's got some more details. So we can see it is that Allwinner T153. That's an industrial style SoC. And interestingly, you can kind of see it's not ball grid array. It might be underneath, but I really doubt it. It's got a whole pile of pins around the outside, which is interesting. There's not as many pins as you might think is necessary. Quad core ARM A7, so you've got a 32-bit core processor there, but you do also have a RISC-V E907 RTOS or real-time operating system processor there, which is pretty awesome. That means if you want to do real-time interaction with anything through these GPIOs that you've got down the side, you've got something that's sitting there that you can have kind of some fixed function firmware running on, whilst you've got a whole operating system that you can manage it with. You've got network connectivity and whatnot there. So we've got 128 meg of RAM, we've got 256 meg of SPI NAND flash. Now we do also have an SD card slot. So you've got two options there, but we'll stick to the NAND flash now. We've got PoE support, which I'll demonstrate for you as well. I'll show you the PoE module. I don't have a PoE switch right now. We have dual gigabit interfaces. That adds to the industrial nature of this with 2 gigabit network ports. You've got high speed. I don't necessarily think you need gigabit there, but if the SoC supports it, well, all the more power to you. But you've got redundancy as well on that communication. So if you're going to be using this for anything industrial like PLCs, you can also daisy chain them. So one can link to the next and you don't have to have a hub and spoke topology. You've then got a MIPI CSI interface for a camera, a MIPI DSI interface for a display, USB Type-C, which is going to be the one that powers it, USB host, which is a Type-A. You've got an interface for a real-time clock battery, which is excellent. We can see that up here on the corner of the board. You've got an SD card slot if you do want more storage, and what I'd recommend is that you use the onboard flash for the OS and you use the SD card slot for your bulk storage if you're going to be recording any data or anything like that. The power is 5 volts DC through the USB Type-C interface, and you have a 40-pin header that's partially compatible with Raspberry Pis. Now, because it is embedded, you've got a Buildroot OS on there, and that you can get from the download section. So now, going around the board, you can see all of the interfaces that we've just talked about, including dual color status LED, the PoE header, which is a bit of a different one to what we've seen before on some others, and the fell button, which is the flash loader or enter. I'm not entirely sure actually. If you know what fell means, stick it down below in the comments. And it's a slightly different form factor. So I didn't expect that. We can see here it's not quite your normal credit card form factor, which you might be used to from the Raspberry Pis. It's a slightly squarer version that's not quite that cracker form factor. So a little bit different there, but with some squared off mounting holes there. So those mounting holes are 37.25 mil apart on one side and 47 mil on the other side. Now, what's also really cool about this being industrial and what they're doing is if you go to their downloads and you have a look here, they've got their schematics. So if you're making mounts or even want to design a case to 3D print, that's not the one I was looking for. Here we go. Image download, 2D, 3D drawings. They've got a zip file here that's got all of the 3D models and drawings and everything that you're gonna need to be able to integrate this product with your existing physical infrastructure, which I think is really awesome. There's of course the firmware. So you wanna download that if you want the latest one. It was last updated in March, so only 2 months ago. We will see what is on this already though. We'll plug it in, we'll jump in and we'll have a look. So now, before I go any further, I do also want to remind you that I have a Patreon. I've slowly started building this. I've been posting more stuff here. You get access to videos, before ads are added to them. You get to talk to me behind the scenes. I'll help you with the SBC stuff, and of course, get your name shouted out at the end of the video. Equally important is that PCBWay are continuing to sponsor this channel. Now, this is really important because they pay for these sorts of videos to get made. So it's hugely appreciated if you go and sign up using the link below. If you don't already have an account, it costs you nothing. And it shows that my viewers are engaging with my sponsors. It helps me, it helps them, and they do have great products, of course. If you do sign up with the link below, you also get $5 off your first order. So if you're just doing a 10-piece prototype order, you're gonna get it for free. You just pay about $8 shipping, whatever the shipping fee is. They of course have other people's projects and you can share your own projects. They do 3D printing and CNC machining plus more if that's what you're into instead. And they've got a module store. So if you just want to go and buy some bits and bobs, they've got heaps of cool stuff there, including nice soldering irons, tools, bearings apparently. That's pretty cool. I do need some more linear bearings soon for a project, and that might be what I'm getting. So check them out. I really appreciate that they're sponsoring this channel. They make this sort of stuff happen. Back to the video though. I'm gonna plug this in now, and what I'm gonna do by default is just plug it into the network, boot it up with power, come on camera, boot it up with power, and we'll see if we can SSH to it. And what it does, we're then gonna flash it with the latest image to see how easy that is. I really just don't think autofocus is the way to go with my videos anymore. There we go. It is too frustrating. I thought it might work with this new camera, but obviously not. Now, rants aside, I'm gonna plug this thing in. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, here we have some power and here we have some networking. Very twisted cable. Now, I did also find a PoE switch, so we'll be able to test that out too. But first, I do want to plug it in with the FNB58 awesome USB, Bluetooth, everything power meter, so we can see what this thing is drawing. We'll connect to it over the network, and then we'll add the PoE module, because as you can see, it's a little bit different. And it's got these standoffs that we'll put in as well. We'll power it up with that and show how that all fits together, but we won't flash it like that, of course. We're gonna flash it over USB. So without further ado, let's get that out the way, get this plugged in there. Oh, this is a very twisty cable, and then get some power in there, and we can immediately see it's drawing pretty much nothing. So half a watt it looks like there. And we can see we've got a little heartbeat LED. It's probably booted in about 3 seconds already. I'm not sure if that's activity, heartbeat, or what it's doing, but I'm now going to go find what this IP address is on my network, because it should have gotten a DHCP address by now, and we'll SSH to it. Back in a moment. All right, here we go. So I've got it plugged in. I found its IP address. Now they do have instructions for that. They show you how you can find the device on your network. The default username and password is root and Luckfox. So just at my terminal, I'm going SSH root at, and then the IP address that it has on my network. We hit enter, and then the default password of Luckfox. I'm very certain that's right. That's perfectly okay though, because this just came with some image on the board. I don't even know what it is. So this gives us a perfectly good opportunity to flash this device. If we go back and we have a look now, we can see it's using 1.34 watts. So just over 270 milliamps it's drawing. That's really not much at all, which is pretty awesome. So to flash this, we are going to have to connect with serial. There's also some tools that you have to download. So if you have a look at the downloads list here, they've got the PhoenixSuit flash tool and they've got instructions here. So you download it, you're going to need to install the driver. And then when you connect the device, you'll see the USB device there and the PhoenixSuit will recognize it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll be back in a moment. So now, if we come over and have a look at Device Manager, we have this unknown device here. Now, you can install it using the installer that they have in the instructions here, but what I'm just going to do is go Update Driver, I'm going to hit Browse, I'm going to go to the folder where I've extracted that zip file, and hit Next, and that just does it automatically. My reason for that is because you never know what random executable files are going to do. I'd rather just install the driver, which is arguably just as risky, but I trust Luckfox, they're good people. Now that that's installed, we'll want to go to that folder where we extracted everything. And if we scroll down in here, we've got Phoenix install or PhoenixSuit. I'm just going to run PhoenixSuit as it is. Let's see if it's in English or not to start with. I'm going to guess not. It is. That is quite excellent. Now, let's put them side by side and work out what we need to do here. So we're going to have to go Image, and we'll want to go to that location where we saved our image earlier and load that up. It says no device attached though, so what do we need to do? If it was already connected, disconnect it first, press and hold the fail button, and then connect it to the computer. A window will pop up, click yes to start flashing. All right, so I am just going to back over here. I'm gonna, and now you can see, hold fail, and then just also hit reset. Now that I've let go, if we have a look at the computer again, it's popped up. Entire flash will be erased. Does wipe all upgrade. Yes, does wipe all upgrade. There we go. This is flashing. Now, after it's flashed, you can open the serial port as well. It will be that same driver, I believe, and 115200 is the default. Apparently there's a separate UART interface. I thought this would have UART over it, but 115200 is the baud rate that you want to use there. Let's have a quick look back whilst that's flashing at the board overview. So number 10 says Type C for power supply and program burning. Interesting. So it would have to most likely connect with two of those ports there. Let's see what it says. Serial. Yeah. All right. So ground, TX, and RX has to go to your serial there. It doesn't have serial over USB. That can be really good to know. We're going to stick to SSH, assuming it works. After we've flashed it, if SSH doesn't work, it's already done. Well, then we'll jump back to serial. So now that should be all booted back up. Let's try this same thing again. Turns out I was wrong anyway. It got a different IP address. So we are now, yes, going to SSH to the new IP address with the root user, accept the new certificate, and fingers crossed, there we go. We are in. Look at that. Let's maximize this, get a bit of zoom, clear that. Does it have Neo Fetch? No, it doesn't. That's okay. So we can have a look at free -M. We have nearly no RAM there. We know it's got 128 meg. You might want to create some swap space. If you want to do that, let's just quickly go, let's have a look at how much RAM we have. We've got 45 meg left there. Let's not create some swap space yet. Let's put an SD card in first. Here is a little 8 gig SD card I've got. I'm just going to pop that in the bottom, click it in, and we'll go back and we'll see if that's detected. Yes, it has picked it up. So if we just go make mount temp, of course you could put this in FS tab. You probably should. Actually, you know what? You don't even have to do that. We can just go make swap dev mmc block 0. Sweet. That whole SD card is swap space now. What you'll then want to do is swap on /dev/mmc block 0. Now, you have a device with 128 meg of onboard RAM and 8 gig of swap space on an SD card. Completely overkill. You probably wouldn't want to do that. You might want to enable a little bit of swap space, and vir/etc sysctl.conf and vm.swappiness equals 0, I believe, and equals 1. So it is only going to use that swap space if it absolutely has to avoid doing a out of memory kill. And then we can also just do sysctl vm.swappiness equals 1. And that is set now. It is not going to touch that swap space unless it absolutely has to, but it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. Of course, my real recommendation would be split it in 2 or even split it up so you've got a gig of swap space and use the rest as your bulk storage. Now, cat proc CPU info. Don't know how I stuffed that up. There we go. We've got our 4 cores there, 0 through 3. And it looks like it does exactly what's described. It doesn't really come with much on there, because this is not your root file system, cat. Interesting. All right, that is really well described. So nothing that we write here is actually going to stay written. That's what you want to use the SD card for that, or you can use the SD card, the SDK to build your own. But that is pretty much the long and the short of it so far. What we'll want to do now is plug this PoE module in and just test that out. And then we're going to plug the MIPI DSI display in and just see if it defaults to outputting to that at all. It of course isn't going to have a GUI. You're not going to be able to use it as a desktop environment, but you can write applications using, say, SDL that output to that frame buffer interface. So give me a moment. I'm just going to hook all this up and I'll be back in a tick. I'm back already, less than a tick or less for you, because I couldn't be asked putting the screws in. This is a standard WaveShare PoE module, as you can see there, and it's important to note it only works on one LAN interface. So if we plug into that one, you can see we get the LED. If we were to connect to this one, we're not going to get that. So that was pretty simple and easy. Unplug module, loses power. Plug module back in, ideally with your standoffs, and it's going to have power again. What I'm going to do now is grab this awesome, where is it? Houston, we have a problem. I don't have a display here to plug into it. I left it out at the workshop. So we're not going to be able to demonstrate that, but I mean, at best, all we're going to get is the UART output, the frame buffer output from when it boots up. So we won't worry about that. That is perfectly fine. What we need to consider now is where this is actually going to go on the SBC tier list. Now, if you haven't seen the SBC tier list before, this is something that I've been slowly putting together for a little while now. And you can see all the SBCs, eSBCs, EBCs, ESBs, if I say it right, and dev boards go on here. Unfortunately, some have made it down to the C tier so far, but there's a few good S tiers. And if you're curious about what all these different things mean, I do have a GitHub page where I'm working on these definitions and slowly refining them. I've got another branch as well. I'll merge that branch in, don't worry about it. This is where I'm refining them. So I would welcome any contributions you have here, but we do need to work out where on this tier list this board goes. So let's have a bit of a look at it. And I'm going to open up Notepad on the computer to make some notes at the same time. First of all, price and availability. Well, I've got this in stock now. So if you want to get one, then come get it from me. In fact, you can get one for free. I almost forgot about the giveaway. I'm going to give away one of these because Luckfox sent me an extra one. So thank you to Luckfox for that. If you want to win one of these, then all you need to do is leave a comment below telling me or telling the community about how you would use this. Now, that doesn't just get you the win. The community has to vote. It's not going to be random. It's going to be 2 weeks from today, the comment with the most votes. I will leave a comment. I'll contact you if you have a YouTube profile where I can see your email address. Otherwise, I'll leave a comment below yours letting you know you've won. And then you can email me and I'll ship this to you for free. You'll get a Luckfox Lume PoE kit like I've been showing off here. then it'll be $0 for you. However, if you do want to buy it, I've got it in stock, obviously, and Luckfox themselves have it in stock. They are about 35 bucks Australian, or that'll be about 25 bucks US, and of course about 10 bucks more if you want to get the PoE module. So as far as price and availability, I actually think it's very affordable, and quite available. You've got it in Australia and China. So I'm going to say it could be better, but you get a 4 for that. Next, you've got your features and specs. So it's a slightly non-standard form factor. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's got a 32-bit CPU as well, which is going to be limiting it, but it is an industrial CPU. It's got onboard NAND flash and an SD card slot. Dual Ethernet is really good, and a nearly standard 40-pin Pi 2 style header. They say it's mostly compatible. So that's excellent. So is MIPI DSI and CSI for something embedded, and a spare USB port. So for features and specs, I'm going to give it a 3, I reckon. Where it might have improved there slightly is if it used a standard PoE module, not this slightly non-standard one. Now, this is a standard Waveshare PoE module, and it's used by a lot of Waveshare products and Luckfox products, but it's not compatible with other brands' goods. The other things are that having an option with a little bit more RAM might be handy for some circumstances, and if it was a normal form factor. So there's a 3 for that one. Documentation and support. It's got some instructions, but it's Windows only, and it doesn't have much about how to actually use the CSI and DSI modules. Now, Luckfox have said that they're building that out, but it is a little bit lackluster at the moment. And of course, you've got the SDKs there, and you've got the 2D and 3D drawings and schematics there. So they win some points for that, but they lose some points for just the lack of documentation. So that's going to be another 3 there. We've then got software and images. So there's only one image for it. That's the Buildroot image that you can build yourself, or you can download their pre-built image for it. We don't actually know what C library it uses, and we don't know what kernel version it is. So let's quickly plug it back in. We'll let it boot up, and I'll check that, and we'll get to the rest of the ratings. So performance and reliability. It's perfectly reliable, it seems. It's not something that I saw crash. It booted nice and quickly. I don't imagine how you'd have many issues with the performance or reliability when it's an embedded system. So I'm going to give that a 4. It doesn't quite get a 5 because it's a little bit hard to test. I don't like giving out 5s either. Then we have accessories and compatibility. So power through USB Type-C, all the 40-pin headers, very good. You've got PoE options, you've got camera and display options, you've got 2 different storage options. You've got the 3D models there, so you can create your own accessories for it, and it's going to support a lot of accessories through the SPI and I2C interfaces there. So that's going to get a solid 5 for accessories and compatibility. Now we just have to jump back and have a look at what kernel version we've got here. So Luckfox and minus A. 5.10 kernel, not even 5.15. Wow. Wow, that really hurts. All right, so for the software and images, there's not really much variation going on there. There is, I didn't actually show you. If you want to see, that's all I did, just uname minus A. But yeah, so for software and variations, we're probably going to have to give it a 1. There's only one image for it. You've only got the one Buildroot SDK. It's using a 5.10 kernel. That's really lacking, folks. That's about as limited as you can get there, which I'm a little bit sorry to say. So on the tier list here, if we go back to that, we add it all up. So we've got 4, 3, 3, 4, 5, and 1. That gives us a solid 21 as best I can work out. Let's quickly do the math. 6, 10, 16, 20. Did I do it wrong? Calculator. Am I just having a real slow day? 1 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. 20. All right, I was right the second time. I shouldn't eyeball it. They get a 20, which just gets it into an A tier. Wow, skated in by a hair there. So that is the Luckfox Lume. This is a pretty cool product, I must say. It has some limitations, do not get me wrong there. However, It's got some really, really cool features. It supports PoE. It's extremely cost effective. It's got an RTC interface for a battery there so it doesn't lose time. It's got an onboard microphone. No, that's a clock. I'm losing my mind. It's got MIPI DSI and CSI ports. It also supports an SD card. In case I didn't say it already, dual gigabit LAN, so you can token ring these. It's a pretty awesome little product. So thank you to Luckfox for sending me this to test out and for sending one to give away to one of you viewers. I'd love to hear what you're going to do with it. And I can't wait to read all the comments as they come in. I know I've been a little bit slow at responding. I'll catch up at some point. I've just been a little bit busy. Thank you as well to PCBWay. We can't forget about them for continuing to sponsor this channel and send me money to make me these videos. And of course, my patrons. Thank you, including the latest patron that just joined. I'm just going to call him Jay because I haven't asked him if he wants his name, assuming it's a him, if he wants their name, if they want their name publicly shared. So come join for free. If you want to give me some of your money, which is better than YouTube sometimes. It starts at $4 Australian a month, so $3 US, and it also greatly helps me out. So all I can say now is I hope that everyone is doing well and that you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for stopping by. Love to hear your thoughts and good luck to everyone at winning one of these. Maybe if it's a really good giveaway, I'll hit up Luckfox and we'll do some more of these. Definitely let me know. Catch you guys next time.